The Pacific theater of the Second World War stands in human memory as one of the most violent, unforgiving, and vast battlegrounds ever witnessed. Across millions of square miles of open ocean, sweltering jungle island chains, and scorched volcanic wastes, the sheer heat and crushing humidity alone were enough to break an army's spirit. But amid this absolute hellscape, a singular military force was unleashed that permanently altered the trajectory of modern warfare in the skies above and on the ground below. It was not a nuclear bomb, nor was it the massive naval guns of a frontline battleship. It was a relentless, roaring stream of metal and fire that provided the American military machine with both its ultimate defense and its most terrifying offensive tool. It was a weapon system so powerful and reliable that it shattered the Imperial Japanese military's aura of invincibility. This is the story of the .50 caliber Browning heavy machine gun, known to the men who fought with it simply as Deuce, whose thunderous voice echoed across every island beach, every jungle canopy, and every sky in the Pacific when the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor thrust the United States into global conflict in December of 1941. American military commanders faced an enemy that was deeply entrenched, expertly trained, and utterly dedicated to fighting to the absolute death. To win this war, the United States required absolute firepower dominance across every operational domain. The Pacific War was fundamentally distinct from the land battles of Western Europe. Here, engagements occurred at razor-close ranges in dense jungle. Dogfights in the clouds were decided in fractions of a second, and fanatical Japanese ground assaults and underground bunker networks posed a constant threat of annihilation to advancing Marines and Army soldiers. In this apocalyptic environment, the .50 caliber cartridge and the heavy M2 machine gun achieved a level of absolute tactical dominance that cemented their place in military history forever. When legendary firearms designer John Moses Browning originally conceived the heavy machine gun, he crafted an engineering masterpiece designed to withstand the test of time. While standard infantry light machine guns fired rifle-caliber rounds that often lost their energy over long distances or failed to stop determined targets, the heavy .50 BMG round was a complete force of nature, delivering staggering kinetic energy. The massive bullet possessed the raw stopping power needed to punch through thick armor plate, heavy logs, reinforced steel, and human targets with catastrophic impact. In the open skies of the Pacific, where legendary aircraft like the P-51 Mustang, F-6, F Hellcat, F-4U Corsair, and heavy bombers like the B-17 Flying Fortress flew into combat, their primary defensive and offensive teeth were batteries of wing-mounted and turret-mounted .50 caliber machine guns. In the opening months of the war, Imperial Japanese naval aviation dominated the skies, largely due to the legendary speed and maneuverability of the Mitsubishi A6M0 fighter. The Zero was feared by Allied airmen for its extreme dogfighting agility and tremendous operational range. However, Japanese aircraft design suffered from a fatal structural flaw. To keep their planes lightweight and agile, Japanese engineers omitted heavy armor plating around the pilot seats and skipped the inclusion of self-sealing fuel tanks. American commanders quickly recognized this fatal weakness, and the .50 caliber machine gun became the ultimate tactical countermeasure. When an American fighter dove onto the tail of a Japanese Zero and pressed the trigger, a devastating stream of 6 to 8 heavy machine guns opened fire simultaneously, unleashing a dense wall of over 70 heavy steel projectiles every single second. This was not merely gunfire. It was a physical wall of kinetic destruction. When a .50 caliber armor-piercing round struck a Japanese engine block, it shattered the metal components instantly. When an incendiary round pierced an unprotected fuel tank, the extreme heat instantly ignited the high-octane fuel, turning the sleek Japanese fighter into a raging fireball that disintegrated in midair before plunging into the Pacific Ocean. Japanese aviators quickly learned to fear the deep, rhythmic roar of American machine gun batteries. They knew with absolute certainty that if an American fighter locked them into its crosshairs for even a fraction of a second, their chances of survival were practically zero. Yet the dominance of the .50 caliber was far from limited to aerial dogfights. On the ground, from the mosquito-infested mud of Guadalcanal to the blood-soaked volcanic ash of Iwo Jima and Okinawa, the war was a continuous nightmare of close-quarters slaughter. Dense tropical jungles, fine volcanic grit, blinding rainstorms, and deeply concealed Japanese snipers turned every square yard of land into a potential kill zone. Unlike the armies of Western Europe, the Japanese military did not rely on massed armored formations, but they excelled at constructing subterranean cave networks, log pillboxes, and executing sudden night attacks. As American amphibious landing craft hit the beaches, one of the first heavy weapons lugged ashore to establish defensive perimeters was the heavy-barrel M2.50 caliber machine gun on land. The .50 caliber represented immediate and total destruction. During Japanese Banzai charges where hundreds of screaming soldiers charged out of the darkness with bayonets fixed, the M2 machine guns opened fire. The massive weight of the projectile did not merely halt an advancing soldier. It tore through entire enemy formations, collapsing infantry charges in seconds. The deafening sound of the gun firing sent waves of panic through Dutchman ranks. When Japanese troops attempted to take cover behind thick mahogany trees or reinforced wooden bunkers, the .50 caliber armor-piercing rounds cut through log walls and earthwork barricades as if they were made of thin cardboard. Beyond its extreme lethality, the M2 was revered by soldiers for its legendary mechanical reliability. The Pacific Theater was the ultimate torture test for military technology. Saltwater spray, deep mud, volcanic dust, and perpetual humidity quickly jammed lighter and less durable firearms. But John Browning's mechanical design was so simple, robust, and heavy-duty that it functioned flawlessly under the worst environmental conditions imaginable. Marines trusted their lives completely to Deuce, knowing that when all other equipment failed in the blackness of the jungle, their heavy machine gun would continue to fire without jam or hesitation as the island-hopping campaign accelerated. The .50 caliber became the universal tool of American victory. Infantry units adapted the heavy weapon for every conceivable combat scenario. It was mounted on tripod positions overlooking key river crossings, bolted to the back of supply trucks, and integrated into frontline perimeter defenses. The sheer psychological terror inflicted by the weapon was one of its most potent features. Enemy soldiers who survived heavy machine gun barrages spoke of the terrifying sound of the incoming rounds, which cracked through the air with supersonic speed before obliterating everything in their path. The gun also played a pivotal role in clearing dangerous enemy sniper nests hidden high in the jungle canopy. Japanese snipers would frequently strap themselves into the tops of tall palm trees, picking off American medics, officers, and radio operators from hidden positions. Traditional rifle fire often failed to dislodge these hidden marksmen through the thick tropical foliage. However, when American gunners swept the tree line with short bursts of .50 caliber fire, the massive rounds sliced through branches, trunks, and sniper camouflage effortlessly, neutralizing the threat instantly and allowing ground troops to continue their steady advance. Furthermore, the .50 caliber served as a crucial bridge between light infantry arms and heavy artillery. It provided infantry commanders with an immediate direct fire capability that could suppress enemy points at long ranges without waiting for field artillery or naval gunfire support. This immediate availability of overwhelming organic firepower saved countless American lives during the desperate, chaotic early hours of beachhead landings, where artillery pieces had not yet been brought ashore and naval support was picey engaging enemy surface ships out at sea. By the midpoint of the Pacific War, the M2 machine gun was no longer just a weapon in the American arsenal. It was the backbone of American tactical doctrine. Its presence on the battlefield gave U.S. troops an immovable anchor in defense and a brutal, unstoppable hammer in offense. Whether defending a freshly captured airfield against overwhelming night counterattacks or laying down cover fire for Marines scrambling up heavily defended ridgelines, Deuce proved time and again that it was the undisputed king of the battlefield. The weapon built a reputation for absolute lethality that would carry it through every major engagement of the Pacific conflict, laying the groundwork for an enduring legacy that remains unmatched in the history of modern infantry weaponry. Beyond the jungle canopy and the dogfights high in the clouds, the Pacific War was fought across the vast, endless expanse of the ocean itself. The island-hopping strategy relied entirely on naval dominance and amphibious support. And here, too, the .50 caliber heavy machine gun played a decisive role in securing victory. Mounted on patrol torpedo boats, landing craft, destroyers, auxiliary transports, and massive battleships, twin-mounted and quad-mounted .50 caliber platforms became the multi-purpose workhorses of the United States Navy, turning small wooden hulls into deadly surface gunboats, capable of raining destruction on any enemy within range. Patrol torpedo boats, agile wooden vessels operating in the shallow waters of island archipelagos, relied heavily on the .50 caliber for their survival and offensive operations. Operating under the cover of night, these tiny boats hunted Japanese supply barges, escorted landing craft, and engaged enemy coastal artillery. Armed with multiple .50 caliber mounts, PT boats could unleash an overwhelming volume of direct fire that tore apart wooden transport barges and suppressed shore defenses. The high rate of fire, combined with heavy armor-piercing capabilities, allowed these light craft to punch far above their weight class, disrupting Japanese supply lines and isolating island garrisons across the South Pacific. As the war entered its final, desperate phases, the Imperial Japanese military unleashed a terrifying new tactic born of absolute desperation: kamikaze suicide attacks. Japanese pilots loaded their aircraft with heavy bombs and armor-piercing explosives, flying directly into American warships at maximum speed. It was a terrifying strategy designed to inflict maximum psychological panic and catastrophic naval losses. Traditional heavy anti-aircraft artillery often struggled to track and destroy these extremely fast, low-flying targets before they reached their mark. In this desperate crisis, shipboard .50 caliber machine guns became the ultimate last line of defense for American naval crews. When a kamikaze plane banked into a steep dive toward an American aircraft carrier or destroyer, every .50 caliber gunner on deck opened fire simultaneously, creating an impassable wall of supersonic lead. The intense rate of fire, combined with the immense stopping power of the heavy round, could shatter an incoming plane's propeller, destroy its flight control cables, or rip the wooden and aluminum wings completely off the airframe before the aircraft could impact the ship. Naval gunners stood their ground on open decks amidst deafening sound and smoke, pouring continuous fire into diving suicide planes until the very last second. These brave gunners saved countless American lives and protected vital naval assets, ensuring the fleet could continue its relentless advance toward the Japanese home islands for ground forces, pushing deep into heavily fortified enemy territory. The .50 caliber was utilized not just for static defense, but as a primary mobile offensive weapon. Japanese defensive positions on islands like Saipan, Peleliu, and Okinawa were famously complex. Concrete pillboxes, narrow bunker firing slits, and deeply recessed mountain caves made direct infantry assaults suicidal. But when American forces mounted .50 caliber machine guns onto armored half-tracks, light tanks, and amphibious tractors, they created highly mobile direct-fire support platforms that completely changed the dynamics of bunker warfare. These armored vehicles could roll directly up to enemy strongpoints under heavy small arms fire. From close range, .50 caliber gunners poured continuous streams of armor-piercing incendiary rounds directly into the narrow firing slits of Japanese bunkers. The heavy rounds penetrated thick concrete, detonated stored enemy ammunition, and neutralized the occupants within seconds, allowing foot soldiers to advance without suffering catastrophic casualties. This seamless integration of heavy mobile firepower transformed infantry tactics and accelerated the pace of dangerous clearing operations across every major island campaign. The incredible, effective range and remarkably flat, ballistic trajectory of the .50 BMG cartridge gave American ground forces a massive tactical advantage in long-range fighting. A skilled machine gun crew could accurately engage fixed targets over 1,500 meters away, far beyond the effective reach of standard enemy rifles and light machine guns. When Japanese forces set up machine gun nests on distant ridge lines or hidden mountain positions, American crews aligned their M2 heavy machine guns calculated the range, and silenced the position from a distance of complete safety. Tearing through barricades and foliage effortlessly, the staggering industrial might of the United States ensured that frontline forces never ran short of weapons, spare barrels, or ammunition. Millions of .50 caliber rounds were manufactured every single month in American factories and shipped across vast oceanic supply lines directly to the front. The standardization of the 12.7 by 90 mm cartridge created unprecedented logistical efficiency across all military branches. Whether for an Army Air Corps fighter plane, a Navy patrol boat, an Army half-track, or a Marine Corps heavy weapons squad, the exact same heavy ammunition was utilized universally. This unprecedented industrial and logistical capability allowed U.S. forces to maintain a non-stop storm of heavy fire that the strained Japanese industrial base could never hope to match. The sheer dominance of the .50 caliber heavy machine gun throughout the Pacific theater fundamentally reshaped modern military doctrine for generations to come. It proved conclusively that a single weapon system combining massive armor penetration, extreme effective range, intense volume of fire, and rugged battlefield reliability was essential for dominance in air combat, naval defense, and ground operations alike. Long after the Second World War concluded, while countless contemporary weapons were rendered obsolete and retired to museums, the M2 Browning .50 caliber machine gun remained in active frontline service. Decades later, it continues to serve as the standard heavy machine gun for armed forces across the globe, testament to its unbeatable original design. From the bloody, contested beachheads of the South Pacific to the high-altitude air battles in the skies over Japan, the .50 caliber heavy machine gun did far more than simply win individual tactical firefight. It defined the overwhelming military power of the United States. It stands in the annals of history as an iconic symbol of engineering brilliance, industrial strength, and battlefield superiority. Legendary weapon whose thunderous voice helped bring a brutal war to an end and reshaped the destiny of the modern world. As history looks back on the fierce clashes that defined the Pacific conflict, the legacy of Deuce remains central to the narrative of victory. It was the constant companion of infantrymen pinned down on coral reefs, the guardian angel of naval crews facing suicidal attacks from the sky, and the lethal sword of fighter pilots clearing the heavens. Few weapons in human history have ever achieved such absolute, undisputed reign across air, land, and sea simultaneously. The .50 caliber machine gun was not just a tool of war. It was the definitive sound of American military dominance in the Pacific, a timeless engineering triumph that earned its place as one of the greatest military firearms ever constructed.